Winter had gripped Whitechapel with a chilling ferocity. The fog was thicker, the air colder, and the shadows seemed to stretch endlessly. Detective Edward Mitchell, driven by a consuming obsession, found himself at the precipice of his own sanity. The hunt for Jack the Ripper had taken everything from him, and now it would demand the ultimate price. January 1889. The new year had done nothing to dispel the fear that gripped the city. The memory of Mary Jane Kelly's brutal murder still haunted me, her lifeless eyes a constant reminder of my failure. Each night I patrolled the fog-laden streets, my revolver at the ready, my mind a chaotic storm of determination and despair. One particularly cold night, as I walked the deserted alleys of Whitechapel, a tip from an informant led me to a decaying warehouse on the outskirts of the district. The building loomed ominously, its windows shattered, its walls stained with years of neglect. The air was thick with the stench of decay. My heart pounded as I approached, the weight of my revolver a comforting presence at my side. I crept inside, every sense heightened. The warehouse was a labyrinth of shadows and echoes. As I moved through the dimly lit space, I heard a faint rustling sound. My pulse quickened. Following the noise, I found myself in a small, cluttered room. There, hunched over a makeshift table, was the figure I had been chasing for so long, the Ripper. He turned slowly, his face hidden in the shadows. The glint of a knife caught the light, sending a shiver down my spine. His eyes, burning with madness, locked onto mine. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. This was it, the final confrontation. "You're too late, detective," he sneered, his voice a chilling whisper. "I've already won." The rage that had been simmering within me exploded. I raised my revolver, my hand steady despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins. "Not this time," I growled, taking a step forward. The Ripper lunged at me, the knife flashing through the air. We collided, the impact sending us both crashing to the ground. The knife clattered away, lost in the darkness. We grappled, each fighting for control. His strength was fueled by madness, mine by a desperate need for justice. As we struggled, flashes of the victims' faces filled my mind. Mary Jane Kelly, Annie Chapman, Catherine Eddowes, all of them crying out for justice. With a surge of strength, I managed to pin the Ripper to the ground, my revolver pressed against his chest. His eyes widened in fear, the madness momentarily replaced by a flicker of humanity. "Do it," he hissed. "End this." My finger tightened on the trigger, but in that moment I hesitated. Killing him would bring justice, but it wouldn't bring peace. It wouldn't undo the horrors he had inflicted or the lives he had taken. It wouldn't save me from the darkness that had consumed my soul. With a roar of frustration, I pulled back. In that split second, the Ripper seized his chance. He grabbed a shard of broken glass from the floor and lunged at me, slashing across my abdomen. Pain shot through me, white-hot and blinding. I fired my revolver instinctively, the shot echoing through the warehouse. The Ripper fell back, blood blooming on his chest. I staggered, the pain overwhelming, but I couldn't afford to collapse. I watched as the Ripper gasped for breath, his life ebbing away. His eyes, once filled with madness, now held only a dim, fading light. He tried to speak, but no words came. The knife fell from his hand, clattering to the ground. I fell to my knees, clutching my wound. Blood poured from the gash, soaking my coat. The world spun around me, darkness closing in. I knew my time was short. With shaking hands, I reached for a piece of paper and a pencil from my coat pocket. I had to leave my final words, a message for those who would come after me. "To whomever finds this," I wrote, my handwriting shaky and uneven. "I have brought an end to the terror that plagued Whitechapel. Jack the Ripper is no more. But in doing so, I have paid the ultimate price. My name is Edward Mitchell, and I gave my life for justice. Let my sacrifice not be in vain. Protect the innocent, hunt the darkness, never stop seeking the truth." The pain intensified, and my vision blurred. I could feel my strength ebbing away, but I forced myself to finish the note. As I signed my name, a sense of peace washed over me. The hunt was over. The Ripper was dead. Justice had been served, even at the cost of my own life. I lay down beside the fallen Ripper, the warehouse now eerily silent. The fog outside seemed to creep in, wrapping me in its cold embrace. My breath grew shallow, each inhale a struggle. But I felt no fear, only a quiet resignation. I had done what needed to be done. As the darkness claimed me, I thought of Mary Jane Kelly and all the other victims. Their faces, once haunted by terror, now seemed at peace. I closed my eyes, a final breath escaping my lips. Whitechapel was forever changed by the events of that winter. The reign of Jack the Ripper had come to an end, but the scars left behind would take years to heal. The story of Detective Edward Mitchell spread through the city, a tale of relentless pursuit and ultimate sacrifice. The police found my body beside the Ripper's, my final words clutched in my hand. They honored my memory, recognizing the cost of my obsession and the bravery it took to confront the monster. The people of Whitechapel mourned the loss, but also found solace in knowing the terror had been vanquished. In the weeks following the Ripper's demise, the streets of Whitechapel began to breathe again. The fog lifted, revealing a city scarred but resilient. The press chronicled the harrowing tale of Detective Edward Mitchell, immortalizing his final act of bravery. The city, once gripped by fear, began to heal. The police station became a place of pilgrimage for those who sought to pay their respects to the fallen detective. My colleagues spoke of my dedication and the price I paid to bring the Ripper to justice. They vowed to uphold the same unwavering commitment to protecting Whitechapel, ensuring that the darkness that had once consumed the city would never return. A memorial was erected in honor of the victims and the detective who gave his life to stop the monster. The plaque bore the names of those lost, a somber reminder of the price of justice. Among the names was Mary Jane Kelly, whose tragic fate had driven me to the edge of madness, but also provided the strength to see the hunt through to the end. Years passed, and the legend of Jack the Ripper faded into history. Whitechapel transformed, evolving from a place of terror to a community united by resilience and hope. The memory of Edward Mitchell lived on, inspiring new generations of detectives to stand against the darkness and protect the innocent. My final words, written in the throes of agony, became a rallying cry for those who followed in my footsteps. Protect the innocent, hunt the darkness, never stop seeking the truth. These words echoed through the halls of the police station, a testament to the enduring spirit of justice. As the seasons changed, so did Whitechapel. The streets that had once run red with blood now thrived with life and laughter. The shadows that had once concealed a monster now held only memories of a time long past. The city, though forever marked by the Ripper's reign of terror, emerged stronger, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. In the quiet moments of reflection, the people of Whitechapel remembered Detective Edward Mitchell, the man who had given everything to protect them. His sacrifice was a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest of times there is light. The legacy of his final act of bravery lived on, a guiding light for all who sought to uphold the values of justice and truth. The hunt for Jack the Ripper had ended, but the mission continued. The fight for justice, the battle against the shadows, would never cease. By my hand, it had ended, and by the hands of those I inspired, it would continue. Decades later, the story of Edward Mitchell and his final encounter with Jack the Ripper became a legend in the annals of London's history. Historians and crime enthusiasts pored over the details, each finding inspiration in the tale of relentless pursuit and sacrifice. The alleyways and streets where the detective had once roamed were now part of guided tours, and visitors from around the world came to walk the same paths. Whitechapel had changed, yet it had not forgotten. The memorial dedicated to the victims, and Edward Mitchell stood as a silent sentinel, watching over the bustling streets. Flowers were often laid at its base, and candles lit on anniversaries of the tragic events, a testament to the enduring respect and gratitude of the community. In a small corner of the police archives, Mitchell's final note was preserved, framed, and displayed with honor. New recruits to the force were told the story of the detective's bravery and dedication, a reminder of the duty they had sworn to uphold. His words, "Protect the innocent, hunt the darkness, never stop seeking the truth," became a motto, etched into the hearts of those who served. The spirit of Edward Mitchell lived on in the new generations of detectives who patrolled the streets of London. Each one carried a piece of his legacy, a determination to face the darkness and emerge victorious. The city, though modernized and ever-changing, held on to the lessons of its past, never forgetting the sacrifices made to secure its future. Years turned into decades, and as the new century dawned, the story of Edward Mitchell and his final act of heroism became an integral part of Whitechapel's identity. Schools taught the tale to children, emphasizing the values of courage and determination. Plays and novels were written, each adding a layer to the legend, ensuring that the detective's legacy would never fade. One foggy evening, much like those that had shrouded Whitechapel in terror, a young detective named Alice Hamilton stood before Mitchell's memorial. She had recently joined the force, inspired by the stories of the great detective. As she read the inscription on the plaque, a sense of pride and responsibility filled her heart. "Protect the innocent, hunt the darkness, never stop seeking the truth," she whispered, vowing to uphold the legacy of Edward Mitchell. As Alice walked the streets of Whitechapel, she felt the weight of history on her shoulders, but also the strength that came from knowing she was part of something greater. The shadows that once harbored fear now seemed less daunting, illuminated by the light of Mitchell's enduring spirit. The hunt for Jack the Ripper had ended, but the mission to protect and serve continued. The fight for justice, the battle against the shadows, would never cease. By Edward Mitchell's hand, it had ended, and by the hands of those he inspired, it would continue for generations to come. The end.